Welcome to Hits and Misses. If you're looking at the second link for this on YouTube, sorry, we've been having some technical difficulties. My name is Toomey. Eric, he's going to be hopping in like half a second. But we're basically here to talk about. There he is. Let me add him to it.
Hey.
What's up? We just started anyway. We're here to talk about the hits and misses of this week. This is championship week. Eric, I know we were just talking. I know you kind of have a dicey situation developing in your championship situation. I got a couple of championships that I'm in that are tentative to say the least. But there also were some massive performances that we were definitely relying on. What's your situation right now, Eric?
I'm down about 50 plus points,
Okay.
about 65 points. They have Terry McLaurin left, and I have two players. I unfortunately have to rely on Jaden Daniels. That's good, but he has the hedge in Terry McLaurin, and I would need probably the greatest game in Jahmyr Gibbs' career to go ahead and overcome.
It's like the Terry thing is the thing that sucks, that he's linked. Like, your competition has your quarterback's the number one receiver.
Yeah.
The Jahmyr Gibbs thing is not impossible. Jaden McDaniels is not impossible. It's just that Terry thing really, that anchor kind of hurts. So I don't know if you're going to make it out of there. My championship situations, one of the leagues, I should be good still, but I started Josh Downs over Terry McLaurin, and that hurts. Now, it's not like the biggest gap in the world in that league, but that may be the thing that like is the difference in that league. And then the other one, this team honestly was kind of lucky to get there anyway. So I'm kidding. If I get kicked out of this other joint, for real. Also, like I said, we're going live on TikTok. See some people in here commenting. I have Garendo. He has Daniels down by 7. What happens there? If you have Garendo, he has Daniels, and you're down by 7, it's going to be close. You just got to hope for kind of like a down game for Daniels, or hopefully that he hands the ball off to Brian Robinson or Eckler down at goal line. I know you're not hoping for that, Eric. But if this person, Usul, is going to win, that's what you're going to need to happen.
Yeah.
What did I tell you? So on TikTok, I put up my game slate, and real quick on YouTube, I'm going to show you guys what my game picks looked like. It was a good week from a picks perspective. What did I say people are going to call out, Eric? What did I say?
You said that people would call out your one mistake, the one blemish on this perfect record.
That's crazy.
Colts, Giants.
Someone said I knew the Giants would win. What are we talking? Like, stop it. On TikTok already, y'all tripping. Another one before we get to the show. Up 4, I have Terry, and he has Kittle. Am I good? I think you should be solid, but that is going to come down to the wire on Monday night. All right, guys. We got a lot more to head into. There's a ton of hits today, a ton of misses, but I would say it's definitely more of a good day. Really more hits than misses for sure. We're going to talk about all of that and more on hits and misses coming up right now. All right. So where are we going to start, man? What do you want to start with?
We can do a little positivity. I know they had a number of games throughout the week, so if you want to give a blast to the past for the players who had an earlier week, just to go ahead and mention them, because some people put you on the good foot where you ain't got to look back. Anybody with T. Higgins, I know you happy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't even know where this thing is. It's not coming up. Yeah, so T. Higgins, we could talk about JT after that. But T. Higgins, 40 points. That to me was one of the biggest like fantasy week MVPs. Clearly, I mean, he's wide receiver 1 on the week. You could have kind of estimated that, I guess, if you were thinking Pat Surtain was going to be on Jamar Chase. And Chase, honestly, delivering 20 points with that type of situation was still crazy. Joe Burrow giving you 36 plus. That was just a fantasy bonanza. Bo Nix on the other side giving you close to 27 points. Courtland Sutton, not amazing, but 16 points on his own. Like, that was a great game. One of the best games from a fantasy production standpoint all week, for sure.
Yeah, if you were a part of that game, you can't be mad. It does suck that Jamar Chase couldn't get a little bit more given how well he'd been playing, but, I mean, it got you there. Hopefully you had somebody else on your team that came up with an explosive play or something like that, but T. Higgins, holy cow, yeah. He single-handedly is putting somebody in their championship throne.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like He's been solid, but damn, bro, like it's one of those things that just made too much sense. Like if Surtain's gonna cover Chase in the end zone, just throw it to the other elite receiver because whoever's their number two, like Riley, Moss or whatever his name is, like they just can't, like he can't cover. They cannot cover T Higgins in end zone. And that man's hand's strong.
That's for sure. That's for sure. He cannot.
I mean, the fact he just catch the thing and doesn't even matter he's getting hit, it's just like, nah, bro. No question about the catch.
It's over.
And we can talk about this game too. So I mean, we're gonna talk about this game a lot. This game had a ton of fantasy highlights this week. For a second week in a row, at least it looks like Jonathan Taylor is gonna probably be RB1. I was making this graphic, and last week he had 39 points. This week he has 27.6 on 32 carries, 125 yards. Not the most efficient day, especially with all those carries when they're kind of getting blown out all day. Like it was kind of like a concerning situation, but he delivered for fantasy. If you were relying on him, he's probably one of the biggest like fantasy playoff MVPs this year.
Yeah, I would say he's probably converted to a lot of people to be Jonathan Taylor fans for life. A lot of people with him on your team, he wasn't really doing this throughout the season. He has transformed for you into an RB1 of productivity consistently in this playoff run. That has been a marvelous output multiple weeks in a row. Hats off to Jonathan Taylor. Oh my gosh.
Hell yeah. Quick question from TikTok. So if I'm up one person to play, if I put him on the bench, does that mean I win? So it definitely depends on your league settings. But if this is a championship game, there's no penalty for that. Like, I wouldn't mind sending a note to the commissioner, but honestly, like, yeah, you could bench him and not get any penalty. Like, so you don't deal with somebody who like fumbles and then gets hurt or something stupid like that, or like a quarterback just only throwing interceptions or something stupid. Yeah, that's not a bad strategy at all, just to make sure you guarantee a dub. Especially just make sure they don't have anyone else before you do something like that.
And those stat corrections, how funny would that be to be up by one but lose because someone put up negative points? That's hilarious.
It's got to, like you said, it probably depends on how much you're up by. If you're up by like 30 and they have nothing left, yeah, fine. You can do whatever you want there. If you're up by one, I wouldn't get too cute with that stuff. Like you said, stat corrections happen all the time. And you never know. So I would just be kind of cautious about like playing it too safe there.
Yeah,
for sure. Other guy in this game, because I'm going to talk about the downside of this damn game. But I mean, the Colts could not cover. Neighbors and his LSU teammate went crazy as well. Again, another guy you could say in the running for like fantasy playoff MVP and Brian Thomas Jr. These guys combined for damn near over 50 points. Malik Neighbors, 7 of 8. Like, it's just not that many targets. 7 of 8 for 171 and 2 touchdowns. Like, it was embarrassing for many, many reasons here. That Malik Neighbors just eviscerated the Colts so just single-handedly, making Drew Lock look like the next coming of Peyton. Like, it was horrendous showing by that defense. But also, you got to give credit, like, that of the things that man does, this man breaks tackles and just he has speed and he is just a dog with the ball in his hands after the catch.
I can say I'm very thankful for these two players. We have significant depth increase for wide receivers next year. These are 2 early round players, just already know that right now. But if you could make these guys like a WR2 next year, boy, that team gonna be stacked.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I don't know. Like with these types of players, they're gonna be both probably pushing close to first round guys next year.
You add Ladd McConkey,
yeah,
all these rookie wideouts that can go, man, yo.
Throw Bowers in there, kind of.
Yeah, I was thinking Brock Bowers. You got they brought some pass catchers in this class. I got to give it to them. We got some depth to go ahead and use for next year that we aware of. You'll never get the value you got for them this year ever again.
Never again. Never, ever again. Yeah. The person I answered in TikTok said you lagged. Am I good to sit my one player? We said, Red, that if you are up by like 1 point or something, I'd be aware of like stat corrections. But other than that, if say you're up by like 10 and they have no one left, I'd be fine to like bench that player just to make sure you don't have any sort of negative like feedback or negative like points from the player who's still left to go. All right. All right, let's see. I gotta go. Let's just hit the other side of this because there's a lot of great stuff we gotta talk about. Just let's cruise past this negative. Because man, I'm not all right. I'm a Colts fan. I'm not gonna use this platform to just shit all over the Colts. I'm not gonna do that. That's why I have a personal TikTok page. You're gonna hear a lot more about the Colts on my personal stuff. But golly, my guys. Josh Downs, that was one that hurt. So a lot of people who follow me, I was advising a lot of people to start Josh Downs. And if you look at the other receivers went crazy. Like Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce both went for, I believe, over 24 points, right? Let me find it. They 24.9 for Michael Pittman Jr., 24.2 for Alec Pierce, 5.2 for Josh Downs, who was supposedly the top target in the offense anytime that Joe Flacco played. That hurt so bad in a game where they threw so much. But they were just working down the field with the bigger receivers, and Josh Downs was just not in the mix at all. These guys and JT dominated the offense, and Josh Downs was a complete afterthought. 3 of 4 targets when you compare it to 9 and 10 for the other 2 receivers. He was just not it in the offense this week. That hurt a lot because of I told people to start Josh Downs over Tyreek Hill, and that is something that I pray you were able to overcome because that's a my bad like a mug. Like there's no way that should have been the case.
Yeah. Yeah. It's football. I mean, who could have seen that coming? I certainly would have thought Josh Downs was going to be the top guy. I mean, what has Pittman been doing all season? Who's in a position now to lean on him and take that risk? If it worked out for you, you're crazy.
That's facts. Like that's why to me, Pittman, I can't even call that a hit. Like no one, unless you almost had to probably have picked him up off of waivers or something.
Yes.
But there's no world where you're starting Pittman Jr. unless you are just utterly stacked at your entire roster. And for some reason, maybe Chuba went out. Like that really did kill people. Not having Chuba in the championship round, it killed me in one of my championship games. I'm going to lose. And so let's say you had Michael Pittman Jr. on your bench for a while. You never cut him. Exactly. That's the only type of person who's getting the dub off of that. Other than that, you're not winning there. But these Colts, this defense, though, again, I'm going to talk about this a lot this offseason. You gave up 45 points to the Giants, bro. 446 yards. Like, this was crazy. You got -3 points in fantasy. I don't ever talk about fantasy DSTs on this show because I don't talk about kickers for real, fantasy DSTs.
Correct.
But a lot of people relied on this Colts defense today. It was set up to be a great situation. Pass rush was there. They were getting their hands on the ball. Like, this was setting up. This was a game where the Colts could have scored on defense.
Yeah.
And they got that ass whipped. Like, whipped. Like, whipped worse than most of the teams got whipped this year. Like, this is one of the worst defensive performances I've seen all season by any NFL defense.
Watching that game, I was wondering, like, why is New York so motivated? Like, they look like a different team out here. Like, they really are bringing the house in this game because I'm like, neighbors is going off. They got Tyrone Chasey with big chunk plays. I'm like, where was this all season defense going on? I was like, what the hell is happening out here?
Yeah.
So, any given Sunday type stuff, man.
Whatever to that. Again, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to even get off this so I don't keep basically, obviously, that eliminated Colts from the playoffs. Like, this is, as a Colts fan, this is not a new feeling. When you just have something right in front of you, all you got to do is win. I mean, you still had to get some luck, but at least we knew we were getting past this week. Whatever, man. Let me just get them off the screen. Let me get these MFers off the screen. But let's talk about a team who actually performs when they come to play. When they need to get a W, who performed? My bad. I'm shitting on, like, he's a Panthers fan. But these guys really balled out in fantasy and in just regular NFL talk.
Mike Evans, man, he might be in fantasy like lore. He produces like a lot when you need him and has been doing so for like 10 years now.
Yeah, bro.
Shout out to Mike Evans. Going forward, get you a Mike Evans. My goodness. How many years have people been saying, hey, man, y'all sleeping on Mike Evans, and we've been found to be asleep? The man produces every single year. Shout out to Baker Mayfield, also fantastic game.
Yeah, because I had to make 2 different slides for this team because you got the rookies as well who balled out crazy. But going back to Mike Evans, he needed 92 yards per game over the last 2 to get his 11K. He got 97. So what is that? He only needs like 87 more or something like that to get his 11,000 yard season next week. And I think there was also an incentive in his contract. If he hit 10 touchdowns, he had 9. So I took the Mike Evans touchdown props anywhere I could find them. So the Devontae Adams one too, but that didn't work out. But Mike Evans, man, like, this was when I hope people didn't really get too shook up over some of the last few weeks where it seemed like McMillan was really just kind of encroaching on his territory. McMillan still did his thing, but it was nice to see Mike Evans was still heavily involved. And Baker Mayfield, man, I just keep thinking about Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Jared Goff, like these rerun quarterbacks, not even just like doing okay, like really seriously balling the F out. Like truly like showing you like, man, you really do need to just take time with quarterbacks because Baker Mayfield is playing lights out. Like he's not going to get MVP discussion because there's so many teams even ahead of him in the NFC, but he's playing crazy ridiculous right now. Like you thought losing Chris Godwin, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Losing Dave Canales, what's going to happen in this offense? They got better, or he got better, even without Dave Canales last year. I just think that hats off to him. Hats off to, again, another highlight for the rookies. Jalen McMillan just continues to just produce in the red zone. Yeah. He's probably like 5 or so touchdowns over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, he's been like, he came out like a bat out of hell. Like, who the hell is this dude? He just showed up and was like, yeah, I'm him.
Yep.
So he's been, there's nothing else to say. There's been a rookie that came from out of nowhere. You could have got off the waiver wire straight up and put productivity injected in your team. He's been balling.
He's been balling like crazy. Like, so we picked him up probably like early quarter of the year, and nothing happened to him. So he got dropped on like a lot of people's teams, right? Mm-hmm. But he literally started to pop off right before the fantasy championship, and every week of the playoffs he's produced. He is scoring. He is a threat down there when they're in the red zone. Even with Mike Evans getting 2 touchdowns, he had 2 touchdowns. This is insane. But then you also got to look at and I'm just one last thought. I'm jumping all over the place with Jalen McMillan. He was the 3rd wide receiver, you'd say, out of Washington. You had Roma Dunze. You had my man, I forgot his first name, Polk, out of Washington as well. He went to the Patriots. He's done nothing this year. Jalen Polk, yeah. And then you got Jalen McMillan, and he was the 3rd guy there, but he had a really, really, really good, like, I think it was either his sophomore or junior year, got hurt, so he didn't produce as much his senior year with, like, Michael Penix Jr. But he's very talented, clearly. And I think that this is a big weapon for them moving forward, which is probably going to kind of muddy the waters on that team as we look into drafting for next year. But the upside for this guy, you could see it. It is there, and he is showing out when you needed it in the fantasy championship.
No doubt. No doubt.
And then, all right, so I'm going to talk about Bucky Irving, but we got a question here. So Isaac Guerrero or London in PPR? London is fully off of the injury report. I'm going to be going with Drake London, especially since Tampa Bay won today. They have to win in order to stay in the playoffs because Tampa Bay, if the Falcons win, then they're staying in the playoffs. If they lose, then the Buccaneers are going to swap places with them. And so I think in PPR, especially, if it was standard, I actually would go with Guerrero. But because it's PPR, I'm going to go with London because it's just a little safer.
Yeah, a motivated player, absolutely. They have to win. Somebody like the WR1 wants to step up. I would absolutely invest in London for sure.
Yep. No problem, Matt. Another question we got. What is the benefit of playing Lions starters tomorrow? I don't know all the scenarios of them clinching, but I do know if they win, I think they have to win, or else Minnesota could jump them for the 1 seed, I thought. That was my understanding. So I think that they have to go and beat San Francisco, and then I think they play for whoever's going to be the 1 seed next week, Detroit versus Minnesota. That's what I thought, but I may be wrong on that. Don't quote me.
I was about to say, like,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean? I thought you were talking about something fantasy related. That's more like the seeding and why would they be motivated to play in the first place?
Yeah. I think if they have to win today, and then if they let's say if either the Minnesota Vikings or the Detroit Lions win out, then they're the 1 seed. So I think they're still playing for the 1 seed.
Okay, something to play for. I see what you're
saying. Yeah. So that's why you would still have hope in like a Jahmyr Gibbs, Laporta, all those players tomorrow. All right. Let's see. I'll take another TikTok question. Do you think I'll win? I'm up 3. Have Juwan and McLaurin, and he has Jaden in standard leagues. So that's an interesting situation. It's kind of the opposite of yours, right? So the guy in here has McLaurin and Juwan Jennings, and his opponent has Jane Daniels, and he's up by 3. It's going to be very close, but you at least have a little bit of a hedge in having McLaurin for Jaden Daniels. So I think that you got a shot. I think it's as close to like a 50-50 proposition as possible there. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, those of you who are stuck in the same position I am with McLaurin being on someone else's team, but you have Jaden Daniels, you got to look at it. McLaurin is heads and shoulders above the best wide receiver option on that team. So if he's throwing the ball, more than likely he's getting it to McLaurin. They also, you might be thinking maybe it could be a game script where he's running the ball. That's unlikely because as they get closer to playoffs, they pretty don't want to risk his health. So if there's a way where they just keep him, protect as much as possible, they just air the ball out. More than likely, who's the other people to start catching touchdowns? You're not going to see Olamide Zaccheaus going crazy. Yep. Zach Ertz isn't going to be running out there going nuts. If you had to guess, it would be McLaurin. But anything can happen. He could be throwing passes to Brian, you know what I'm saying, Robinson Jr., and him running passes in for all I know. So, but it's likely that a good hedge is if you have McLaurin, and you're hoping that enough happens with Daniels rushing. He might rush for 1 touchdown, even though I really don't think so. That could just be purely Jaden Daniels points.
That's the thing with Jaden Daniels. Like, whenever to me, him and Lamar are so similar. Whenever they get rushing touchdowns, you thank God you got that. Because that's just not, like, they're not the option down there in the red zone. And so, like, their running backs will likely always do that. And if you get that, you're really sitting pretty. But I do think in this situation, it is close to like 50-50 for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We didn't even touch on Bucky Irving. The fact that he did this with no touchdowns. He almost had a touchdown.
Stepped out of bounds.
Would have had a 30-point day. Would have been the RB1 on the week. Somebody was telling me in my live, I had him as a top 4 running back, but not RB1. It was like Bucky's going to be the RB1. Book it. I was like, he could, and he was a foot away from being RB1 on the week so far. 20 carries, 113, 4 for 77, which is so critical. Like, this is just such a crazy situation, man, where I've never seen somebody who was so good. Well, I guess we did because we saw this happen to ETN this year too, but not in the same way. But like Rachaad White, so great last year. Just completely get that shit taken from him. He got it took. Like straight took from him. Because it was one of those things where in the offseason, this is one of those like off-season things where you got to make sure you guys are subscribed, make sure you guys are following on TikTok, all that stuff, because the off-season talk. I broke this down in the offseason. I didn't expect it to happen like this, but I definitely was breaking down after the draft how much the coach was gushing about Bucky Irving and how much he's like, yeah, Rachaad White is okay, but like Bucky Irving puts his foot in the ground and goes. And people kept telling me, like, that's just coach talk. It's whatever. I was like, but the coach kind of is talking like mad negative about Rachaad White. Because even though I remember there was this one press conference when the reporter said, well, yeah, Bucky Irving seemed really good. But like Rachaad White, he's really good in space. And the running back coach said, anyone's good in space. I was like, bro. That does not tell you that this is going to be even a little bit of a competition. I don't know what we're smoking. And that's exactly what happened. Like, Bucky Irving is not the fastest dude, the biggest dude. He puts his foot in the ground and goes, and the coach wants a player who's going to do the thing that they say. And Rachaad White just dances too much in the backfield. That's why he always has a terrible yards per carry. He's better this year than it's ever been. And I think he's better positioned as a complimentary back, a great pass-catching back. And when he gets limited touches, he's much more efficient. And Bucky Irving is going to be the grinded-out guy who's going to get you this 23 points a game, just killing it. So, really interesting.
Bucs went crazy.
What you said?
And a lot of Bucs went crazy, but I'm saying like the draft capital on that team. The only player on that 4 that we listed from the Bucs that you spent high draft capital was Evans. These are the 3 people you didn't spend that much on. Bucky Irving more than likely was probably a late draft, but the other 2, I'm pretty sure they were off the waiver wire early in the season. Baker was probably on your waiver wire. McMillan, he was on your waiver wire. Don't give me that. So that's just how it was.
Said, don't give me that. Like, nah, I had McMillan all season. Shit, get out of here, bro.
Like negative.
And just in this game, we can touch on it really quick. This was a guy who I would say sneakily won people some championships today because I got the most questions outside of like Jonnu Smith questions after the Tua news. The most amount of questions about Adam Thielen or X. Now, if I said Adam Thielen or Devontae Smith, clearly you should have probably gone with Devontae Smith, but I think it's like by 1 point or two. But for the most part, I just kept saying Adam Thielen is safer. He's just going to get a lot of targets. He actually didn't get a ton of targets. But, man, those 2 touchdowns, those big plays, he was clearly the preferred target in this game. And hopefully you listened and you start Adam Thielen.
Adam Thielen got some fans today. I'm sure some people were starting him, just hoping they can get whatever, he produces. He converted some people today. That's 2 touchdowns on 5 catches. Like, you are extremely freaking lucky for this level of output with a Panthers wide receiver against the Bucs like that. And I'm saying that as a Panthers fan. Like, if you got Adam Thielen, donate to charity this year or something. Do something good.
do something for your community. If you had Adam Thielen and he got you that championship, you got them dollars off that.
For sure.
Yeah. I'll tell you, like a lot of people, you made this list 10 minutes ago. So somebody like on TikTok again, because TikTok has such great feedback. Somebody just told me I made my chart, my wins chart 10 minutes ago. I posted this like during the week, so you guys can check that out.
They're trying to say no way you called all that except for one.
Yep. The thing that sucks is I put out like not a ton, but a few parlays, like just on like money line. Every parlay had the Colts winning. Every single one. So I didn't cash any of my like game pick parlays, which is very annoying.
Hell yeah, especially that's the only one you missed. That's incredible.
Only one I missed. And of all the teams, for me to be like, you know what? I'm a Colts fan. I know what we are sometimes at the end of the season. Maybe let me put in one higher dollar one with the Colts, but maybe put in like a hedge where I put in another one and just take the Colts out. I didn't do that. I was like, of course the Colts are winning this game.
Dang.
This is crazy, man. Yeah, somebody else said mine too. The Colts ruined everyone. Yeah, the Colts ruined a lot of people, especially for those survivor pools. If you made it all the way here, all right, easy one right here. Boom. Crushed.
Ouch.
Talked about this a little bit. Jonnu Smith got you there. Not easily, but he got you there at the end with that touchdown. I was telling people to start him over players like Chigakonkwo, who actually was fine too. He actually got you like 10 points, so like 1 point less. But the one thing I said about Jonnu Smith was he actually produced around like 11 points in one start with Huntley and then like 30 points in another start with Huntley. So I actually felt like of all the players, he was the most Huntley proof. But Tyreek Hill also significantly overperformed. Prior to today, he was the wide receiver 57 on average with Tyler Huntley. Like, it was a very clear sit. And he showed you why. Yes, we have some data, but at the end of the day, 4 games is not really like that's not a big sample size at the end of the day. And he's Tyreek Hill too. Like, so that was one where I definitely, I told people to sit him. I told some people to start Adam Thielen over him, so that worked out. But there are also people where I told to start Josh Downs over him, and that did not.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's what the data pointed to. I mean, that's honestly, you would never say Pittman.
Yeah, you would never ever in your life say that. Somebody did ask me that actually. Somebody said Pittman or Tyreek Hill, and I said that's kind of the line where I start Tyreek Hill. But at the end of the day, 19 points should be happy with that.
Yeah.
Another person, I need 39.09 points to win. I have Gibbs and Kittle left. Do I win? It's going to be tight, but I think that's a situation where I could see you win that game. If it's PPR, especially. If it's not PPR, I think that's kind of like a tough one, though.
Yeah, Kittle has had an outstanding season. If he ends with a real strong game, because I think he's the kind of guy who's also aware that this is fantasy championship week, I feel like he tried to go out there and at least do something. And if Jahmyr Gibbs, with everyone saying this is a great matchup, it's the Detroit Lions who put up like an average of 50 points a game. Yep. If 2 or 3 of them touchdowns go through a long Jahmyr Gibbs home run rush, like we all know he can do, Jahmyr Gibbs can put up a wild game. But in all likelihood, it'll probably be just a little bit above average. So temper yourself.
like 16 and a half points or something. Like solid. You're not mad about it, but like not enough.
Precisely.
The only thing, man, the Detroit Lions have shown this year, even when they win, depending on who they're playing. Like for instance, last week when they made that really cool like stumble play, you remember with Jared
Yeah.
Goff?
Big trip.
Something happened where I think like a Chicago Bears player like got in the face of one of their guys or something like that, and there's no proof of this, but then the next play was that fake stumble touchdown. They're the type of team who's kind of like petty like that.
Yeah.
And the San Francisco 49ers kicked them out of the playoffs last year. Like this is, if you're ever going to stomp on the head of a 49ers team, this is the year to do it, to kind of get a little like get back. And I could see Dan Campbell like, okay, they're up like 23-14 in the fourth, and they're still throwing it. Like they still got the starters in, they're still throwing it to J-Mo down the field or something crazy like that. Like that's what you're hoping for if you're starting like the players tomorrow, because I think the pettiness of the Lions and the competitive nature of like the 49ers are not going to just like be an easy like run over team.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're hoping for if you just have those players. And it is a really good game, just from a fantasy championship standpoint, to have as the final game of the card is Detroit versus San Francisco, because you have so many players on both sides of the ball, both tight ends, both running backs, like nearly all, like 4 receivers in the game, both quarterbacks, like defenses are interesting at the least. This is a really good fantasy game. Yeah. Why did the Giants win? My Giants stomped out the Colts. If you get to say my Giants stomped out the Colts, you deserve that. I have nothing negative to say. Honestly, you've survived so much. New York deserves that win, because the Colts clearly did not. But New York, if you are a Giants fan, I cannot be upset. I can only be happy for you, because who wouldn't love to stomp out a team who needs to win to get into the playoffs and like beat their ass? Like, congrats. I'll hand clap to the Giants fans. Congrats on that. All right. H-in really quick. This one, I will say, like, this is kind of what I expected to see more so from like Tyreek as well, but I moved him down in my rankings too. People are very concerned why I dropped him outside of my top 20 like total running backs this week. Outside of the top 13, once you removed all the players who had already played like Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday. And it was because of this. Like while Tyreek Hill was much worse with Huntley, he was also pretty terrible too. Like he was running back 37 with the other quarterbacks outside of Tua. And so to me, this was just one of those ones, predictable. Not throw him on your bench, but definitely like I was starting Dowdle, Spears, JT, Bucky, all those guys over H-in. And H-in was a top 7 running back until the Tua news. And that's the second that happened, moved him out of there. So hopefully you listen and that paid some dividends.
Yeah, I think he's a massive upset if people who are depending on Devon Achane, because he's been outstanding this season, and that's just you super didn't want to see this in the championship week. My goodness.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like that sucks, but I hope, like, especially if you were like, this was a 4:00 game, you should have had some time to kind of figure some things out. Hopefully you made the right decision there. I want to stay negative just to kind of knock through some of these players real quick, because boy, oh boy, Lord, I'm done with this team.
Woo!
Damn. The New York Jets, like, why, bro? Like, why y'all suck so bad? This hurt today, because so obviously of all the picks or any of the bets I made, obviously they were tied to the Colts winning and Davante Adams catching Aaron Rodgers' 500th touchdown pass. I was like, touchdown parlay, JT, Mike Evans delivered like a mug. Both of them scored twice. Davante Adams. I was like, even if he doesn't have a great game, he's going to catch that touchdown, though. Aaron Rodgers is some ass. Like, he is a terrible quarterback. And what I thought was going to happen, like, you saw what happened. Again, it's with backups. I get it. But if they really wanted to win and they weren't worried about Aaron Rodgers' ego, he would have been benched so long ago for Tyrod Taylor. You saw Tyrod come in the fourth quarter, and it, again, is against backups, give you nearly 14 points in the fourth quarter. Like, he brought life to that offense. And I think that this would have happened. They would probably be not in the playoff hunt, but definitely messing some things up for other teams if they were to have switched to Tyrod Taylor halfway through the season instead of just continue to piss around with Aaron Rodgers, who makes it really easy to dislike him just because he just seems like a shit person also. So it's easy for me to dump on him in this respect. But he killed us this year. He killed amazing fantasy assets this year. Garrett Wilson still delivered today, which was, you were happy for that, but he delivered with the Tyrod Taylor touchdown pass with an amazing catch, like a phenomenal catch. He makes amazing catches versus the Bills. But yeah, I think that this team was intentionally not trying to lose, but they were so gripped by Aaron Rodgers' ego that they couldn't make the right decision for their team, and they are a dumpster fire. Hopefully they draft another quarterback, because it seems like people are talking like Aaron Rodgers or like Kirk Cousins may be like teams to kind of think about, or Browns are a team to think about those quarterbacks or something like that. So seems like he's out of there. This is not at least on defense, but on the offense side, you may have to tear this thing down. You may have to tear this thing completely down, because this Aaron Rodgers fucking experiment, really crushed people today. And not that you were relying on Aaron Rodgers, but the Devontae Adams part was really big. Breece Hall started to get back into our good graces again, and then giving us 6 points, like it was awful.
This team is like what could have been. Like, there's many people who were won over today by like the Adam Thielen performances. I would say the season in general by the Jets has created a lot of enemies for that team. You got a lot of people who say, I'll never touch another Jets player again.
That's facts.
Get away from me with that Jets mess. So that's the kind of season they had. No freaking doubt.
Like this, the Jets, this offseason, I remember there was like schedule analysts saying they had the easiest schedule, which I know is like different, especially when you factor in how good the Broncos became, how good the Vikings. I mean, Jesus, they went crazy. But like, the roster construction, really good, all that stuff on paper, which doesn't really matter that much. Like Tyron Smith was a turnstile at left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
But even still, man, you would expect Aaron Rodgers to not like be this awful. And the thing that really bothered me about this team was like, God, like fucking turn around and hand the ball to the running backs. More than 50%, like just hand the ball to running backs and get out of there and stop forcing it to Adams. Like it was so clear, like we're just gonna do the things he wants. And that's so dumb. Like they were one of the lowest run rate teams in the NFL. And I just don't understand how you can believe you're gonna win with this old ass quarterback who's clearly past his prime. But I don't know. I'm just ranting now. So let's move on.
It's not 2011 anymore.
Nope. Another person who may have personally done me in one league, Jordan Love. Yeah, this he very, very, very lucky to see 14 on this grade. That touchdown late, he started putting it together late, but boy, oh boy, man, this was a bad looking performance. Now, on the season, the Vikings are the hardest team against quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
But in a game where they were fighting for their lives in this game. They had to try to win this game. He really underperformed. He really, really underperformed. I will be losing a league because of this decision for me to start Jordan Love over Bo Nix. Like Bo Nix had almost like 13 more points than him. And so that's probably going to make me lose one of the fantasy championships I have. But my man at the bottom, this guy, man, like
he ran out of oomph at the end here at the season, man.
His first week 1, he went crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, man, that man gave all of that in week 1 and said,
"Yep,
I'm good." And I left it all in Brazil, my guy. I left it all on the mat in Brazil because this was crazy terrible. 1.6 points 2 weeks after you gave 0. Now, albeit if you had Jaden Reed, you're likely not in the fantasy championship based on how he's performed for you, unless you've been benching him. But if you were depending on him, which some people were, this is tough, especially like benching Tyreek for him, stuff like that. That's tough. Benching onto Smith for him. That's
I'm sorry.
Those were things that happened in the world. I don't have it didn't load up all of the ones. I think I don't have Devontae Smith, but I want to jump away from here. Do you have anything else on the Green Bay guys?
Oh no, nothing on the Green Bay guys at all.
Yeah. The only other person, I mean, I guess you could say he's a miss was like Josh Jacobs, gave you 10.8 points. That's fine. It's a tough run defense. I can't be mad about that. It's just it wasn't a 20 plus he's been giving you for sure.
Yeah, he didn't just destroy it. He still like you rather that over how negative things could be.
Yep. Somebody in the TikTok's asking, please tell me you have the Rams beating the Seahawks next week. I likely do because I was not impressed by either team this week, but I did feel like the Rams game versus the Cardinals was more of a predictable struggle this week than some people thought. Like I was very hard on the under in that game. And they're healthy. The Seattle Seahawks sometimes I don't know what we're looking at, and I think that pass rush is a problem for that offensive line. So I probably will be picking the Rams. I do want to see. I don't even know who's playing where. We could look at that before I get out of here.
Cooper Kupp. Yikes.
Yeah, if we're putting misses from the week, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen.
Woo!
Yeah.
Who has both of those guys? I do.
Oh man, wowee.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon. There was some doozies this week. Do the Commanders pull it off tonight? I have the Commanders winning, so hopefully we continue my streak. And only have that one stupid ass loss by the Colts on the screen. I don't have the graphic up here, but I just want to talk about the Eagles game. So Eagles balled out crazy. Devontae Smith put up 36 of 7 for 120 and 2 touchdowns. They were picking on the other corner outside of Deron Bland for the Eagles. And it was rather frustrating because especially if you had A.J. Brown, he still delivered, gave you 12.6 points in PPR. But he had 2 almost touchdowns. One was like this really cool one-handed catch. He just didn't get the other foot down. And then the other one was like there was offensive holding, so that touchdown was taken off the board. But outside of that, like Deron Bland is a good cover corner. They were just making sure that he was stuck on A.J. Brown. And Kenny Pickett was just like, oh, Deron Bland's over here. Where's Devontae Smith? I'm just chucking it over there. And that worked out really well. Like Devontae Smith balled out like we always know he could. I was probably lower than I should have been on Devontae Smith. I'm saying probably. Clearly, I was lower on Devontae Smith than I should have been because A.J. Brown last week got 61% of the targets with Kenny Pickett. So I was like, bro, I can't get away from that. But yeah, that's what I think about the Eagles. They really balled out. We can talk about Saquon in a minute. But what do you think about the receivers?
The receivers did incredible. I think it wasn't even just all the touchdowns thrown by Pickett. He actually got hurt, and then the backup came in there and threw a touchdown. So I think the Eagles, their pass catchers, they're just they have a very good system that works well. Even the tight end, Cal Katera, he steps in, he makes plays, he moves the chains when necessary. Like you said, Devontae Smith, they move so much to go ahead and try to prepare for A.J. Brown. He could do this more often, in my opinion. There's some games where he puts up a dud, but he should have a little bit higher floor. And Devontae Smith, he would be a stalwart player to go ahead and have on your fantasy team, especially when he has the capacity for games like this when teams overcorrect to try to stop A.J. Brown. So Eagles offensive package for the wide receivers, fantastic. And you already know what the running back.
Yep. All right. I think that's most of what we have. The only other thing, so someone is asking about NFL honors. I think that it's rather clear right now that the MVP race we know is between two people. It's between Lamar, it's between Josh Allen. There's nothing in Lamar Jackson's profile that says he should not win it again. But I kind of think that this is almost like in the NBA when like one person keeps winning it, another player has a really good year. Like Josh Allen just kind of deserves this because he hasn't gotten it yet. We're not going to get
exactly
MVPs on. So, look, that's really, I mean, that's unfair, I guess. But like Josh Allen producing, they said it was a really interesting stat. NFL record 13 receivers have caught touchdowns, which is an NFL record. Like 13 different players on the Bills have caught touchdowns. Now, it's not really a Josh Allen stat. Technically, the 13th one came from Mitch Trubisky, but it really just tells you at least a diversity of him just spreading the ball around to all of the different receivers in this offense. And again, not to hate on Lamar at all, but you throw in, I mean, a person who, like you see on the screen, is also in consideration for Offensive Player of the Year. You throw in a Derrick Henry in the system. While, yes, Lamar is passing at an all-time level for him. He's having a great year, and honestly, in any other year, he would be considered the MVP. Him and, like, Saquon would be in the running. But I just think based on what Josh Allen has consistently done, but now he's done it with he just like everyone was saying they're gonna have a down year because they have no weapons on offense. And he said, "F all that noise." And again, Lamar's got a couple, so he's fine type shit. Like, like that's really it. Like that's the conversation. Like I think it clearly has to be Josh Allen. I don't even think it's really a consideration to be Lamar. It would be kind of like I like Lamar, so I'm not gonna be mad about it. But if I was like a Josh Allen or a Bills fan, I'd be like, come on now, like, what's the boy got to do to get one? I think this is the year that Josh Allen gets the MVP.
Yeah, when you go to the argument of what he's doing it with, who is on his team that he's getting there with, nobody is in the same airspace as Derrick Henry. You could even go as far as to say Zay Flowers is heads and tails better than anybody that he's throwing the ball to out there in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. So I do think, as what everybody was saying, that they're not going to be that good because they got rid of all their weapons and everything like that. And for him to turn this season in, I'm okay with it going to Josh. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think there's already some people who are like hedging, like it's gonna be Lamar, and they're already like starting to like pre-cry about it. Like I do think it would be kind of crazy to not go to Josh Allen, but I don't think Lamar is undeserving of it if he were to win. But
precisely,
this it's just like those years when like Jokic will win it, just throw in the Embiid type shit. It's not like he didn't deserve it, and I mean you can't really have this. I mean, at the end of the day, they all kind of deserve it. All four guys on the screen technically deserve it. But it's gonna go to Josh Allen. It should go to Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And I also think that offensive player of the year is pretty solidly wrapped up to me.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
You're going for Dickerson's record. It's pretty clear. Saquon Barkley's winning this award.
Yeah.
Kind of have the same argument almost against Derrick Henry, damn near, for like having like playing with Lamar. Not the same, but he's done amazing. But Saquon is just on another level. He's just on another level right now. And if he actually goes and breaks that record, I mean, it's crazy. Like 2,000-yard season, going for more. It's Saquon, and that's kind of like all she wrote about it.
Yeah. This is a fantastic season from a running back perspective. Like, who saw this coming? Everyone thought he'd be good. He's met and excelled above his expectations. And people thought that this was going to be happening a good year for a running back. He's had an outstanding year. So hats off to Saquon. Holy cow.
If you look at all those running backs, and I remember I made like a video about it earlier, but all these running backs who changed teams, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs, like they're phenomenal pickups by these teams. Which you really like. You don't see that happen that much for running backs. Like any year, you really don't see teams change positions that much. These guys balled out.
That is very true. Yeah, well said. I didn't even pay attention to that, but you usually don't see this kind of success. That's a fact.
Aaron Jones successful too in Minnesota. Like it was
J.K. Dobbins.
J.K. Dobbins, great, like 1,000-yard season off of like Achilles, man. Like, come on, that's awesome. All right, so we got a question here. So I'm up 115.16 to 85.18. I have a Amon-Ra left. He has McLaurin, London, and Jesse Bates. Do I win the chip? Whenever you throw the defensive players in there, I really do need to know like the scoring method there. But
he got two big wideouts though, dog.
You got some big ones. You got some big ones. Like, so you're up by 30 points. You have Amon-Ra left. Hopefully he's going to play a full game. Let's say you get 18 from Amon-Ra. So let's say you're up 48. McLaurin, London, Jesse Bates. Again, that scoring of the defense player, I don't know. It's going to be tight. I'd feel okay, but like, you need somebody to bust tonight. No Diddy. McLaurin or London, you just need somebody to falter tonight in that game. But it's, I don't know. I don't think Jesse Bates is going to get a pick six or anything, so hopefully that doesn't hurt you.
I'm going to be real. You should be nervous.
Yeah. I feel you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel you. Another one up here before we get out of here. I'm up 138.4 to 115. He has Kittle. I think I'm good. Or do you think I'm good? All right, so you're up by, 23 points? And he has Kittle. You should be fine. You never know with George. But you should be fine. Like 23 is a lot for anyone. That's really high for tight end. We didn't even get to talk about, man, I'm so upset it didn't load like some of the MVPs from this week, like who really did it for you this week. Trey McBride, bro.
Yeah.
It didn't load up. It kind of pissed me off. But I had this championship MVPs. Like Trey McBride to me, was a big one this week, just because one it was a player who had kind of been like a little down on some people's radar, but to me this week was really predictable in the fact that they were so directly like out loud about how much they wanted to get him a touchdown. They were so audible about it. He dominates the Rams traditionally. They suck defending tight ends. This one was like, you shouldn't have any concerns if Trey McBride had been down over the last few weeks. Like, you got to throw him in your lineup. And if you did that, hats off to you. I had him in one league. He gave me 31 points. Like, that shit is like 12 of 16. Like, come on. Like, that's a tight end. That was like 12 of 16. That's higher than like Aaron Rodgers' like completion percentage this week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
When it comes to Trey McBride, you might be able to tell I'm a Trey McBride big time super fan. I think it's just one of those players who whatever you need, even if they don't score a touchdown, they do just enough, and you're like, thank you. This is all I'm asking for. When I need a big game, they happen to play a big game. Trey McBride is like on my wavelength of every team I make. He always produces what I need. Yes. I like, trust me, when Trey McBride gets picked ahead of me in a draft, I audibly get pissed off. It happens. Like I really like having Trey McBride on my team.
Yeah. You remember, I mean, it was such a debate, Trey McBride or Dalton Kincaid. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
what a difference a year makes. I mean, we obviously talked about T. Higgins, talked about JT and his two monstrous performances back to back. Malik Neighbors really killed it for people today in particular. Derrick Henry, can't sleep on the fact that he gave us like 25 points on Wednesday. You got Travis Kelce going for 22, giving us an old school performance.
Yeah.
And we already talked about Joe Burrow. Like, a lot of really great performances. I will say the Saturday games were really fun, really productive in fantasy, unless you had James Conner. But other than that, it was a good week.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're going kind of long. Just talking about some of the wins this week. So this is the last episode of the fantasy season. You're likely going to see me back on a different show or something, but we're going to have to get that all figured out. But this is the last one for the year. On TikTok, you're going to continue to see us. Obviously, I'll be on there. FS Strategist on TikTok. Eric P. Football on TikTok. Make sure you guys give us a follow there. But with that being said, any final words for the people, Eric?
It was a great season. Look at what the rookies have done. Lad McConkey, all these people, they're going to be going super early next year. This is where you take note. The people who you really want, just jot it down somewhere, put it in an email. Don't send it to yourself. Just to remember for next year, this player ended very well. I want to pick them up next year. And be aware of how things like at the end of the year can screw you over, like CeeDee Lamb being benched. This is why it's always acquiring so useful to have the best people even on the bench. Always try to get talent. And so there you go. That's why.
100%. You got this is the most important time of the year to pay attention so that you remember how critical Jalen McMillan was down the stretch. Or how critical like Chigakonkwo was down the stretch. Like those players who may not be at the top of your mind, but they're going to be at the top of your mind because you guys are watching a fantasy show now. Even if you're not even in, like those people who are not even in the championships but are watching a show like this shows the dedication that they have to fantasy football, and that's going to pay dividends in your championships to come. All right, so with that being said, congratulations on those who made it this far, those who are making it in their championship game. Hopefully you guys get a lot of chips, make some cash off of that. Yeah, and we'll see you on the flip side. Peace out.
Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.
And I didn't end the stream, so I was just looking at my phone. So you guys are still seeing us? Peace out, everyone.
Peace.